This is not the story of an ordinary man. This is the story of a man whose arrival brought light to a world engulfed in darkness. A man whose name beats in every heart, whose mercy was not limited to one tribe or nation, but embraced all of creation. Let us journey back 1,400 years to the dry valleys of Makkah, where the dawn of this light began. This is Makkah, a land once drenched in ignorance and cruelty, a place where idols were worshipped, where daughters were buried alive, where the powerful crushed the weak. Yet it was this very land that Allah chose for the birth of his final messenger. The year was 571 CE. The date, the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal. The night sky blanketed Makkah as a child was born in a modest home, Muhammad. A moment that may have seemed ordinary on earth, but in the heavens, it was a celebration. In the arms of Amina was the face that would become a mercy to the worlds. His grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, rushed to the Kaaba in gratitude and named the child Muhammad, the one who is praised by all. In those times, it was a tradition among the Arabs to send newborns to the countryside, away from the city, to be raised in a pure and healthy environment. Muhammad was entrusted to Halima Sadiya, and from the moment she took him in her arms, blessings poured into her life. The dry land became green. Her once empty livestock produced milk, and everyone around her began to notice this child was no ordinary child. One day, as Muhammad played with other children, a figure descended from the sky. It was the angel Gabriel. He opened the young boy's chest, took out his heart, washed it with Zamzam water, and placed it back. The children ran in fear to tell Halima. Alarmed, she returned Muhammad to Makkah. But this was no accident. It was a divine sign this child was chosen by Allah. At the tender age of 6, Amina took Muhammad to Yathrib, the land of his forefathers. On the journey back, she fell ill and passed away in a place called Abwa. A child who had barely begun to understand the world had now lost his mother. His grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, took him in and cared for him lovingly. But just 2 years later, he too passed away. Now, at the age of 8, Muhammad was left an orphan alone in the world, but not truly alone. Allah was with him. These moments of sorrow were not mere tragedies, they were steps toward a divine mission. The story of the greatest man to ever walk the earth continues. From the very beginning, he was different. Though orphaned young, he carried a light within a light of purpose and truth. As he grew, Makkah began to whisper his name, not with fear, but with admiration. They called him As-Sadiq, the truthful, and Al-Amin, the trustworthy. This was Makkah, a city where trade flourished, but so did deceit. Lies, fraud, and usury were common practice. But amidst this, one young man stood tall Muhammad. His truthfulness became his identity. In every transaction, he was fair. He never cheated, never raised prices unjustly, and always measured accurately. One day a man came to him and said, "Sell me good cloth, but at a low price." Muhammad smiled and replied gently, "This is the fair price, the same for you as it is for me." His honesty spread like fragrance across the city. The wealthy began to take notice, including a noble woman of Quraysh, Khadijah, R.A. A powerful merchant herself, she had heard of his truthfulness and offered him a chance to lead one of her trade caravans to Syria. Muhammad accepted. The journey was long, but filled with blessings. In every deal, Muhammad showed honesty, wisdom, and grace. He sold goods at excellent prices and bought with sharp intelligence. Khadijah's servant, Seerah, who accompanied him, was astonished. He never lies, never cheats, and always remembers God, he thought. When they returned to Makkah, Khadijah was amazed. The profit he earned in one trip was more than she usually made in a year. But more than the profit, it was his integrity that impressed her. In that moment, admiration turned to respect, and respect began to blossom into love. After losing both his parents, young Muhammad was now completely orphaned. But Allah had already arranged protection and love through his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, who cherished him more than his own children. He would seat the young boy beside him, near the Kaaba, honor him in gatherings, and even consult him in matters. Everyone noticed something extraordinary in this child. Yet, only 2 years passed before Abdul Muttalib too departed from this world. Now the noble responsibility fell to Abu Talib, the Prophet's uncle. Though Abu Talib was financially poor, his love for Muhammad was deep and sincere. As Muhammad grew into a young man, he remained distinct from the youth of Makkah. While others chased pleasures, he chose purity. No lies, no gossip, no vulgarity, only truth, honesty, humility, and deep thoughtfulness. His character was so luminous that the people began to call him as-Sadiq, the truthful, and Al-Amin, the trustworthy. In a city filled with idol worship and corruption, he was a shining light of truth and purity, a soul being prepared by Allah for the greatest mission ever to come. In the bustling markets of Makkah, the name Muhammad had become a symbol of integrity and trust. This reputation reached the ears of Khadija bint Khuwaylid, a wealthy and respected businesswoman of noble character. She offered him an opportunity to trade her merchandise in Syria, and he accepted. During the journey, Muhammad amazed everyone, especially Khadija's servant, Seerah, who witnessed his unmatched honesty, mercy, and calm. When they returned with a great profit and an even greater reputation, Khadija was struck not by the wealth, but by the purity and nobility of his character. Her heart inclined toward him not out of business interest, but out of deep respect and admiration. Eventually, she sent a proposal not just from a woman of status to a man of virtue, but from a believer in character to a bearer of destiny. Muhammad accepted, and thus began a sacred marriage, one built not on wealth or desire, but on trust, partnership, and mutual love. Khadija wasn't just a wife, she was his supporter, his confidant, and his first believer. This marriage was a divine beginning, preparing the Prophet for the storm of prophethood that was soon to unfold. Though the Prophet's life was now filled with comfort and love, especially through Khadija's devotion, his heart felt restless in the face of Makkah's moral decay. The idols, the lies, the oppression, they weighed heavy on his soul. He began to seek silence, climbing the rocky hills outside Makkah to a lonely cave called Seerah. There he would sit for hours, even days, reflecting, crying, praying, not knowing the exact path, but deeply sensing that a great truth was out there waiting. In the darkness of the cave and the stillness of the night, he poured his heart out to the one Creator, seeking light for a world drowning in darkness. Khadija, ever so loyal, would bring him food and comfort, never questioning his longing for solitude. This sacred retreat was not isolation, it was preparation. The Prophet was being purified, elevated, and readied for the divine command. Then one night, as he sat in the cave wrapped in thought, a light brighter than any dawn would soon break the silence, and with it, history would change forever. It was a night unlike any other. The cave of Seerah stood still beneath the blanket of stars, while the city of Makkah slept in heedless slumber. Inside, Muhammad sat in deep reflection, his heart yearning for truth, his soul burdened by the weight of humanity's misguidance. Then suddenly the silence shattered. A mighty presence filled the cave. It was Jibril, the angel of revelation, radiant and powerful. He embraced Muhammad and commanded, "Iqra Ra'ad." The Prophet, trembling, replied, "I cannot read." Again and again the command came, read, until finally, with a voice that would echo through the ages, the angel declared, read in the name of your Lord who created. The first verses of the Quran had descended. Revelation had begun. Frightened and overwhelmed, the prophet rushed down the mountain, his heart racing. He cried out to his beloved Khadijah, cover me, cover me. And she held him calm and unwavering. He shared what had happened, and she, without a moment's doubt, said, by Allah, he will never disgrace you. She took him to Waraka ibn Nawfal, a learned Christian who confirmed the truth. This is the same angel who came to Moses. You are the prophet of this nation. The earth had changed. The skies had opened. A new chapter for mankind had begun, and with it, the dawn of Islam.